The city was alive with movement, noise, and energy. Cars honked as they rushed past, street vendors called out to pedestrians, and the sidewalks were crowded with people hurrying to their jobs, appointments, or errands. Among the rush of daily life, a small figure weaved carefully through the crowds, a young black girl named Amara. She was thin, with dark, shining eyes full of curiosity, and a small backpack that bounced against her back as she walked. Life had not been kind to her. Orphaned at a young age, she had moved between foster homes so many times that she had begun to feel invisible, like she did not really belong anywhere. Yet, despite the hardships, Amara carried herself with quiet courage. She walked tall for her age, and her gaze, bright and alert, seemed to take in everything around her. That morning, Amara had wandered farther than usual. The city center was intimidating, but also fascinating. Towering skyscrapers with glass walls reflected the sunlight, and she stopped occasionally to admire the way the buildings seemed to stretch toward the clouds. People dressed in suits and dresses hurried past her, talking into phones or carrying briefcases. It was a world she had never experienced closely, a world that seemed distant yet magnetic. She wanted to see it all, to understand the hustle she had only observed from a distance before. As she rounded a corner near a busy intersection, her small sneakers scuffed against the pavement. She was so absorbed in watching a delivery truck navigate the corner that she accidentally bumped into a man walking briskly in the opposite direction. Papers flew from his leather briefcase, scattering across the sidewalk like leaves caught in a gust of wind. "I'm so sorry, sir," Amara exclaimed, her small hands reaching out to help gather the loose papers. She moved quickly, picking up the sheets and stacking them neatly, making sure not to crease any of them. The man stopped and bent slightly to see what she was doing. He was tall, with broad shoulders, wearing a perfectly tailored dark suit and a crisp white shirt. His presence commanded attention, there was an authority in his posture, a calm confidence that made people instinctively step aside. He was David Harrington, a billionaire whose business empire stretched across multiple countries. Despite his wealth and fame, he was rarely seen in public without an entourage or security detail. Today, however, he was alone, and he watched the young girl carefully, almost surprised by her boldness and initiative. "Thank you," he said after a moment, his deep voice calm and even, as he bent down slightly to retrieve the remaining papers. "Are you okay?" Amara nodded quickly, her small hands still clutching the last of the papers. "Yes, sir. I didn't mean to bump into you." Her voice was polite but had an honest directness that made it clear she spoke from the heart. David adjusted his tie and smiled faintly. He had seen people trip, stumble, and apologize countless times, but there was something different about this child. Her eyes were wide, bright, and full of life. There was curiosity there, but also something more, an unexpected courage, a readiness to face the world even though it had been unkind to her. Amara hesitated for a moment, biting her lower lip, and then, almost without thinking, she asked something that left David momentarily stunned. "Excuse me, sir, can I go home with you?" David froze, his mind racing. The words were so unexpected that for a moment he was completely silent. He had dealt with business crises, public scrutiny, and media storms, but this question so simple and bold from a child caught him entirely off guard. He looked down at her, trying to understand the situation. The girl's eyes were wide and serious, there was no joke, no mischief. She was asking earnestly, honestly, without any hidden agenda. David carefully chose his words. Why would you want to do that?" he asked softly, crouching slightly to meet her at eye level. Amara's small face flushed, but she did not look away. "I don't have anywhere else to go," she said simply, almost as if those words explained everything. "And, you seem nice." David was taken aback. In all his years, no one had approached him with such openness and trust. She had no idea who he was, what he had, or how the world worked. She only knew that she felt safe, or at least hoped she could. David's mind raced, thinking of every possible way he could respond. He could not, and should not, take her home. That was impossible. But something in her simple honesty touched a part of him he rarely accessed, the part that remembered a lonely, difficult childhood, the part that longed for someone to notice him, to care without judgment or expectation. The streets around them were alive with the normal chaos of city life, but for David, time seemed to slow. He looked at her small hands clutching the papers, her slightly worn shoes, the strands of hair brushing her cheeks. She was just a child, alone, and yet bold enough to speak her truth. And in that moment, he realized that she was not asking for wealth, luxury, or indulgence. She was asking for care, attention, and safety, a connection. "Listen," David said finally, his voice gentle, careful not to frighten her, "I cannot just take you home. That would not be safe, and it wouldn't be proper. But I can help you. I can make sure you have a safe place to stay today. Would you like me to do that?" Amara's eyes lit up. Relief flooded her small face, and she nodded quickly. "Yes, please," she whispered, her voice filled with hope. She seemed to relax slightly, as if a weight she didn't realize she had been carrying had lifted just a little. David reached for his phone and made a call. He contacted a trusted friend who worked with children in crisis, explaining the situation and arranging for temporary accommodation at a nearby shelter. He stayed with Amara as they walked together through the busy streets, keeping a steady pace and a watchful eye on her. He noticed small things: the way she held her backpack tightly, how she paused to look at shop windows, how she flinched slightly at the sound of loud trucks passing by. Each detail made him more aware of her vulnerability, but also of her strength. As they walked, Amara began to talk. She spoke of the foster homes she had lived in, the teachers who had been kind or cruel, and the small joys that had kept her going. She told him about her love for drawing, the way she spent hours sketching on scraps of paper, and her dream of becoming an artist one day. David listened quietly, genuinely interested. He realized that this girl, who had bravely approached him on the street, had a spark that no wealth, status, or circumstance could diminish. By late afternoon, they arrived at the shelter. The staff welcomed Amara warmly, prepared a bed for her, and stored her few belongings safely. Before she went inside, she turned to David, her eyes reflecting both gratitude and the trust she rarely offered to adults. "Thank you, sir, really," she said, her voice soft but steady. David knelt down, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. "You're welcome, Amara. Remember, you are stronger than you think. And never stop believing in yourself." She smiled, a small but genuine smile, and walked into the shelter, ready to rest for the night. David watched her go, feeling a strange emptiness he hadn't anticipated. For years, his life had been filled with contracts, meetings, and responsibilities, but this moment, simple, human, real, had affected him deeply. He realized that the encounter had reminded him of something he had long forgotten: the importance of connection, of caring for someone without expectation, of making a difference in a life that truly needed it. As David walked away, blending back into the rhythm of the city, he could not shake the image of her small face, her brave question, and the quiet strength she had carried with her. That single, unexpected encounter had changed something within him, opening a door he had long kept closed. And somewhere in the back of his mind, he knew that this was only the beginning of a journey neither of them would ever forget. The evening sun painted the city in warm shades of orange and gold as David walked with Amara toward the nearby shelter. The streets were still busy, but a softer energy settled over the city compared to the chaotic morning. Amara stayed close to David, her small hand occasionally brushing against his leg, a quiet acknowledgement of trust. She had never felt such protection before, and the sensation was both strange and comforting. David kept glancing at her, noticing things he might have overlooked at first. Her backpack was worn and frayed at the edges, a clear sign of years of use. Her shoes had scuffs on the toes, and her clothes, though clean, were simple and modest. But what stood out most was her spirit. Despite all she had been through, there was a brightness in her eyes, a curiosity and courage that refused to be dimmed. As they walked, Amara started talking again, her voice small but eager. Do you always wear suits like that?" she asked, glancing at David's sharp outfit. David chuckled softly. "Not always. Today was just a busy day with meetings." "Why do you ask?" "I've never seen anyone so fancy," she admitted, a hint of awe in her voice. "I mean, you look like someone from a movie or a magazine." David smiled, touched by her innocent honesty. "Well, I suppose I do look different from most people, but I'm really just a person like anyone else." Amara nodded slowly, as if trying to understand that idea. "So, you don't always have secret money or hidden islands?" she asked, her curiosity bubbling over. David laughed, genuinely amused. "No hidden islands. Just work, travel, and sometimes long days in an office." The two of them continued walking, and David realized how refreshing it was to talk to someone so straightforward and unfiltered. Children often had a way of cutting through the noise, seeing the world in ways adults could not. Amara's questions and observations reminded him of the simple truths he sometimes forgot amidst contracts, business deals, and press statements. As they approached the shelter, David spotted the staff waiting outside, ready to assist. The shelter was modest but welcoming, with bright colors painted on the walls and a small garden where children could play. A few young kids ran across the yard, laughing, while volunteers helped others with homework and art projects. The environment was safe, caring, and filled with a warmth that David knew Amara needed. "Here we are," David said, stopping at the entrance. "This is where you will stay tonight. The people here will take care of you, and they have a safe place for you to sleep." Amara looked up at him, her eyes wide and trusting. "Really? You're sure?" she asked softly. "I'm sure," David said, nodding. "And tomorrow, we can figure out more long-term help for you. But for now, this will keep you safe and comfortable." A kind woman with a gentle smile approached them. "Hello there. You must be Amara," she said warmly. "I'm Miss Lydia, and we are so happy to have you here. We've prepared a room for you, and there's dinner waiting soon." Amara's shoulders relaxed, and she allowed herself a small smile. "Thank you," she whispered. David knelt slightly to speak to her at eye level. "Remember, Amara, this place is safe. You can trust the people here, and you can ask for anything you need. They are here to help you." Amara nodded, gripping his hand for just a moment before letting go. "I will," she said softly, her voice filled with quiet determination. As David watched her enter the shelter, he felt a tug at his heart. He had done something good, something real, but it was only the beginning. There was a part of him that longed to stay and ensure her comfort, to make sure she truly felt safe. But he also knew that he had already taken the first step, bringing her here, giving her security, and showing her kindness. Walking back through the city streets, David's mind was alive with thoughts. He realized how much he had missed simple human connections in his life. For all his wealth, his achievements, and his influence, he had rarely experienced moments like this, pure, honest, and unfiltered. Amara's courage, her vulnerability, and her trust had stirred something deep inside him, something he could not ignore. That night, David found it hard to sleep. He thought about the girl's life, the challenges she had faced, and the opportunities she might never have. He thought about his own childhood, about times when he had felt alone, and he saw a parallel between his past and her present. The world had been tough on him, but he had found guidance and support along the way. He wanted to be that person for Amara. The next morning, David arrived early at the shelter. Amara was already up, her eyes lighting up when she saw him. She ran to him, her small hands gripping his arm, her smile bright and contagious. "You came back," she exclaimed, full of excitement. "Of course I did," David replied with a warm smile. "I wanted to make sure you're doing okay. How did you sleep last night?" Amara nodded. "I slept well, and the dinner was really good," she said, her voice cheerful. "Thank you for bringing me here." David crouched slightly, still maintaining eye contact. "You're welcome, Amara. But remember, this is only the beginning. Today, we're going to think about some longer-term help, like school, art classes, and other things you love." Amara's eyes sparkled. "Really? You mean I can draw and learn and—" She paused, searching for words. "I can actually be me." David smiled. "Yes, exactly. You can be yourself, and I will help you however I can. But we need to start with small steps, one day at a time." Over the next few hours, David met with the shelter staff, discussing Amara's needs, her schooling, and her interests. He learned about her love for drawing, her intelligence, and her resilience. She had faced hardship, yes, but she also had remarkable potential. He arranged for art supplies, books, and additional tutoring to help her grow. Throughout the day, David stayed close to Amara, teaching her how to organize her things, how to manage small tasks, and listening to her stories. They laughed together, shared little jokes, and built trust. It was remarkable how quickly she had opened up to him. The connection between them was deepening, built on honesty, safety, and mutual respect. Amara shared stories of her life in foster homes, the teachers who cared, the ones who ignored her, the friends she had made, and the moments she felt invisible. David listened carefully, never judging, always encouraging. He noticed how strong she was, despite the difficulties she had faced. She was brave, curious, and determined, qualities that reminded him of his own inner strength. By evening, Amara had completed a small drawing of the city streets they had walked together. She handed it to David with a shy smile. "I wanted to remember today," she said softly. David took the drawing, studying it carefully. It was filled with detail, from the tall buildings to the bustling streets, and at the center, a small figure with a backpack, clearly Amara herself. He felt a lump in his throat. This simple piece of art captured more than a scene, it captured a moment, a memory, and perhaps the beginning of a life that could now be brighter and fuller. "You did an amazing job," David said, handing it back to her gently. "This is special, Amara. Keep drawing, keep imagining, and never stop believing in yourself." Amara beamed, her confidence growing with his words. She realized that someone truly cared, that someone was willing to help her succeed, and that she had value in the world. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope, excitement, and safety all at once. As David left the shelter that evening, he reflected on the day. He had not only provided Amara with safety but had also witnessed her spirit, her resilience, and her bravery. He knew that this was the start of something important, a bond that could shape both of their lives in ways neither had imagined. And somewhere deep inside, he understood that helping her was changing him, reminding him of the human connections that mattered more than wealth, power, or fame. That night, as the city lights twinkled against the dark sky, David thought about what the future could hold for Amara. He knew he wanted to be a part of it, not as someone controlling her life, but as a mentor, guide, and friend. He wanted to give her the opportunities she deserved, to help her discover her talents, and to show her that even in a world that could be harsh, there were people who cared, people who would stand by her. Amara, meanwhile, lay in her new bed at the shelter, hugging her small backpack tightly. She thought about the man who had walked with her, spoken to her, and promised to help her. For the first time in years, she felt safe, cared for, and inspired. Her mind buzzed with ideas for her drawings, dreams for her future, and excitement for what the next day would bring. The next morning, Amara woke up feeling unusually excited. She had never imagined waking up in a place where she felt completely safe. The shelter was quiet at first, but soon the soft sounds of children laughing, volunteers talking, and morning routines filled the air. Amara stretched her small arms, yawned, and smiled to herself. Today felt different. She could feel it in her chest, a sense of hope and possibility she hadn't known in a long time. She quickly got dressed, brushing her hair neatly and checking her small backpack. Inside, she had placed a few personal items: a notebook, a pencil, and the drawing she had done the day before. That drawing had become her treasure, a reminder that someone believed in her. She had tucked it under her pillow the night before, holding it close, and it had made the night feel warmer, safer. When she came down for breakfast, David was already there. He had arrived early again, as he often did these days, wanting to check on her and see how she was settling in. He was carrying a small bag with art supplies, books, and a few snacks. The volunteers greeted him politely, recognizing him from yesterday, and Amara ran to him with a bright smile. "Good morning, Amara," David said warmly, kneeling to her level. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes," she exclaimed, almost bouncing with excitement. "And I dreamed about drawing all kinds of things: trees, buildings, even animals I've never seen before." David laughed softly. "That sounds wonderful. I'm glad you had good dreams. Today, we're going to do something fun, but also important. We'll start planning for your classes, your art, and other things you enjoy. How does that sound?" Amara nodded eagerly. "Perfect. I want to learn everything I can. Can we start now?" David smiled. "Yes, we can. Let's begin." They spent the morning setting up a small space for Amara in the shelter's common room. David helped her organize her new art supplies: colored pencils, markers, sketchbooks, and paints. He showed her how to arrange everything neatly so that she could access her materials easily. Amara was fascinated. She had never had so many options before, and her excitement was contagious. Once everything was organized, David encouraged her to start a new drawing. "Think about anything you like," he said. "Draw what makes you happy, or what you dream about. There are no rules." Amara picked up a pencil, her small hands trembling with anticipation. She began sketching a scene of the shelter garden, filled with flowers, trees, and children playing. She added a tiny figure in the corner: herself with a big smile, running freely under the sun. As she drew, David watched quietly, impressed by her creativity and attention to detail. He realized that this little girl, despite everything she had gone through, had an incredible imagination and a spirit that could not be broken. After a while, Amara looked up at David. "Do you like it?" she asked shyly. David examined the drawing carefully. "I love it," he said sincerely. "You have a talent for seeing the world in a special way. Keep drawing, Amara. This is just the beginning of what you can create." Amara's face lit up with pride. For the first time, she felt that her skills and ideas mattered, that they were important enough to be noticed and appreciated. That feeling was new to her, and it gave her courage. She continued drawing, adding colors, details, and little touches that brought her scene to life. Later, David took her for a walk around the neighborhood. He wanted her to experience more of the world safely, to see beauty and opportunity beyond the shelter. They walked slowly, talking about the city, the trees, the buildings, and the people they passed. David asked her questions about her interests, her favorite subjects in school, and the things she dreamed about learning one day. "I want to be an artist when I grow up," Amara said, her voice filled with determination. "I want to draw and paint and maybe even make books for other kids. I want to show them that even if life is hard, they can still be happy and creative. David smiled, moved by her words. That's a wonderful dream, Amara. And you can make it happen. It will take hard work, but I believe in you. We'll find ways to help you learn and practice, so you can reach your goals. As they walked, they came across a small community park where other children were playing. David suggested they join the games for a little while. Amara hesitated at first, feeling shy and unsure, but David encouraged her gently. She soon joined the other children, running, laughing, and playing with a freedom she hadn't experienced in years. David watched from a bench nearby, smiling. Seeing her so happy, so carefree, was a reward beyond anything money could buy. After the walk, they returned to the shelter. David met with the staff again to discuss schooling, tutoring, and extracurricular activities for Amara. He wanted to make sure she had every opportunity to succeed. The staff shared their insights, noting Amara's intelligence, her creativity, and her resilience. They suggested programs in art, music, and sports that could help her grow both academically and emotionally. David listened carefully, taking notes and asking questions. He was determined to provide her with more than temporary comfort. He wanted to create a long-term plan for her success and happiness. Amara watched him work, impressed by how much effort he was putting into helping her. It made her feel valued, cared for, and hopeful. In the afternoon, David introduced Amara to a mentor, a young woman named Clara, an artist who volunteered at the shelter. Clara had experience teaching children and was enthusiastic about helping Amara develop her artistic skills. Amara was shy at first, but Clara's warmth and encouragement quickly put her at ease. They spent the afternoon drawing, painting, and sharing ideas. Amara's confidence grew with each passing hour, and she began to see a future full of possibilities. As the day drew to a close, David sat with Amara in the shelter garden, watching the sunset. The sky was a brilliant mix of orange, pink, and purple, and the garden seemed to glow in the soft light. Amara leaned against him, tired but happy. "Thank you, David," she said softly. I don't know, like I can actually do things now. Like I'm not just invisible." David placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You were never invisible, Amara. You just needed someone to see you, to help you find your strength. And I promise, we will keep working together so you can reach your dreams." Amara smiled, her heart full of hope. She felt a sense of belonging, of being seen and valued, that she had never experienced before. The future suddenly seemed less scary, less uncertain. For the first time in a long time, she felt that she had a real chance to thrive. That night, as she prepared for bed, Amara reflected on the day. She thought about the art supplies, the walks, the games, and the lessons she had learned. She thought about David, his kindness, his patience, and the way he believed in her. And she thought about herself, realizing that she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. She placed her notebook and pencil on the bedside table, along with her drawing from the morning. She hugged her small backpack, feeling grateful for the safety, support, and guidance she had received. For the first time, she felt a sense of hope and possibility that went beyond the present moment. David, meanwhile, returned to his home, but his thoughts remained with Amara. He reflected on the day's events, on her courage and resilience, and on the small but meaningful steps he had taken to help her. He knew that there were challenges ahead, but he was determined to face them with her, to provide guidance, support, and opportunities whenever possible. He realized that this experience was changing him too. It reminded him of the importance of compassion, empathy, and human connection. For all his wealth, influence, and accomplishments, the real fulfillment came from helping someone else, from seeing the direct impact of kindness and support. The next morning, David planned another day filled with learning, fun, and discovery for Amara. He wanted her to explore her talents, to dream big, and to experience the world in ways she never had before. And Amara, excited and confident, was ready to embrace every opportunity, every lesson, and every moment of growth that awaited her. Little did they know, these days together were only the beginning of a journey that would change both their lives forever. Amara's courage and determination would continue to inspire David, and David's guidance and support would help Amara discover her full potential, leading to a bond that neither of them could have imagined before that first encounter in the city streets. And so, with each passing day, trust deepened, dreams grew brighter, and hope became a reality for a little girl who had once felt invisible, and for a man who had discovered the true power of kindness and connection. The following morning, Amara woke up to the sound of birds singing outside the shelter window. The sunlight streamed gently through the glass, casting warm patterns on the floor. She stretched her small arms and yawned, feeling refreshed and ready for a new day. The days with David had started to feel like a new life, one full of hope, learning, and kindness. After breakfast, David arrived earlier than usual. He carried a small bag of books, not just any books, but ones filled with stories about courage, creativity, and adventure. He knelt down to Amara's level, his face lighting up with a warm smile. "Good morning, Amara. Today, we're going to explore stories, art, and even a little bit of science. I thought it would be fun to mix things up a little." Amara's eyes widened. "Science? Really? I love learning new things. Can we start now?" David chuckled softly. "Of course. Let's begin with a story. It's about a little girl, not much older than you, who used her courage to change her world." He handed her a brightly illustrated book. Amara flipped through the pages, captivated by the colorful drawings and the story's gentle message. The girl in the book faced many obstacles, but she found clever solutions, helped others, and never gave up. Amara listened intently as David read aloud, her imagination painting pictures in her mind, mixing the story with memories of her own life. When the story ended, David asked, "What did you learn from the little girl in this book?" Amara thought for a moment. She never gave up, even when things were really hard. She believed in herself, and she helped others too. "I want to be like her." David nodded. "That's a very important lesson, Amara. Believing in yourself is the first step to achieving anything. And helping others makes the journey even better." After the story, David guided Amara to a table filled with paper, colors, and other art supplies. "Now," he said, "why don't you create your own story? You can draw it, write it, or do both. Tell me about a girl who faces challenges but finds ways to overcome them." Amara's small hands moved quickly, her pencil dancing across the paper. She drew a girl walking through a dark forest, carrying a tiny lantern. The girl looked scared, but she kept moving forward, finding her way through obstacles and helping other creatures she met along the path. As Amara drew, she spoke softly to herself, imagining the girl's adventures, her bravery, and the friends she made along the way. David watched, impressed by her creativity and depth. "This is amazing, Amara. You have such a vivid imagination. Keep going. I can't wait to see what happens next in your story." The morning passed quickly as Amara worked on her story. David occasionally offered gentle suggestions, but he mostly let her lead, understanding that this was her world, her creation. By midday, Amara had completed a small book filled with drawings and short sentences describing her character's adventures. She proudly held it up. "Look, David. I did it," she exclaimed, her eyes shining with pride. David took the book and examined it carefully. "This is incredible, Amara. You have captured so much emotion, courage, and hope. You should be very proud of yourself. You've created something truly special." Amara beamed. For the first time in her life, she felt that her ideas, her creativity, and her voice mattered. That feeling gave her courage and confidence she had never known before. After lunch, David suggested they take a walk to a nearby park. Amara loved the idea. The park was full of life, with children playing, people walking dogs, and the soft sound of water from a nearby fountain. Amara held David's hand as they explored the park, her small fingers gripping his with trust and comfort. They found a quiet spot under a large oak tree, where David spread a blanket. He pulled out a small notebook and began to teach Amara some basic lessons about nature. He showed her how to identify different types of trees, the shapes of leaves, and the sounds of birds. Amara listened carefully, asking questions and making observations. She was curious about everything, eager to understand the world around her. Nature teaches us a lot about patience and growth, David explained. Just like the trees, we grow little by little. Sometimes it takes time, but every step is important. Amara nodded thoughtfully. So even when things are hard, I should keep going, just like the little girl in my story? Exactly, David said, smiling. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn and become stronger. As they sat together, a small group of children approached, curious about Amara. They had seen her drawing and reading earlier in the shelter and wanted to join in the fun. At first, Amara hesitated, feeling shy around new people, but David encouraged her gently. Why don't you show them your story? They might enjoy it too. Amara took a deep breath and opened her small book. She began to tell the children about the girl in the forest, her adventures, and the friends she made. The other children listened with wide eyes, fascinated by her storytelling. Soon, they began to ask questions, suggest ideas for the story, and even draw their own pictures inspired by Amara's tale. David watched from a distance, his heart swelling with pride. He had never seen Amara so confident, so expressive, and so connected with others. It was a beautiful transformation, one that reminded him why he had decided to help her in the first place. After the park visit, they returned to the shelter. Amara was tired but happy, her mind full of new ideas and experiences. David sat with her, discussing her plans for the coming days. They talked about school, art classes, and possible hobbies she might enjoy. Amara was eager to try everything, her curiosity and energy seeming endless. That evening, as Amara prepared for bed, she reflected on the day. She thought about her story, the park, the new friends, and the lessons she had learned. She realized that each day was teaching her something new, not just about art or nature, but about herself. She was learning to trust, to believe, and to dream. David, meanwhile, returned home, but his thoughts were with Amara. He thought about her creativity, her courage, and the way she had shared her story with the other children. He knew that her journey was just beginning, but he was determined to guide her, support her, and provide her with opportunities to thrive. Over the next few days, David arranged for additional lessons for Amara. She would learn not only art and reading but also basic science, music, and even some physical activities to keep her healthy and active. Each day was filled with discovery, learning, and fun. Amara began to flourish in ways that surprised even herself. One afternoon, David surprised Amara with a visit to a local art gallery. It was a small, community-focused space, but it was full of incredible paintings, sculptures, and photographs. Amara's eyes widened as she took in the colors, textures, and creativity all around her. She wandered through the gallery, sketchbook in hand, capturing what inspired her. "Wow," she whispered. "There is so much beauty in the world. I want to make things like this one day." David nodded. "You can, Amara. And with dedication, practice, and belief in yourself, you will create things that inspire others too." That night, as they returned to the shelter, Amara felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had never imagined a life like this one filled with learning, creativity, safety, and hope. She realized that David's presence in her life was changing everything, giving her a chance to dream big and believe in herself. David, on his part, felt a strong sense of responsibility and pride. He knew that helping Amara was more than just a temporary act of kindness, it was a commitment to her future. He wanted to ensure that she had every opportunity to succeed, to be happy, and to discover her true potential. As Amara drifted off to sleep that night, she hugged her small backpack and thought about the girl in her story. She realized that she, too, could be brave, creative, and kind. And with David's guidance, she felt ready to face the challenges ahead, knowing that she was no longer alone. Little did they both know, the days ahead would bring new surprises, opportunities, and challenges that would further test Amara's courage and determination. But with each passing day, her confidence grew, her dreams expanded, and the bond between her and David became stronger, built on trust, care, and mutual respect. And so, as the night sky stretched over the city, filled with stars, Amara slept peacefully, dreaming of adventures, creativity, and a future filled with hope, a future that was finally within her reach. The next morning, Amara woke up feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was special. David had planned something that would open a whole new world for her. She didn't know exactly what it was, but the way he smiled when he mentioned it made her heart race with curiosity. After breakfast, David arrived with a small, neatly wrapped envelope. He handed it to Amara and said, "Open this when you're ready, but take your time and think about it carefully." Amara's small fingers trembled slightly as she tore open the envelope. Inside, she found a handwritten note and a small card. The note read, "Amara, I believe in you. Today, you will get a chance to share your story and your art with others. Remember, courage comes from believing in yourself." The card was an invitation to a local community event where children were encouraged to showcase their creative talents: art, writing, music, and storytelling. Amara's eyes widened. "Me? Really? You think I can do it?" David knelt down beside her and smiled warmly. "Amara, you've already inspired me every single day. You have courage, creativity, and a voice that matters. This is your chance to show others what you can do. I know you can." The ride to the community hall felt like an adventure. Amara sat quietly in the car, holding her sketchbook tightly. She thought about all the lessons David had taught her: to be brave, to believe in herself, and to help others along the way. Today, she would take those lessons into the real world, sharing them with people she didn't even know yet. When they arrived, the hall was buzzing with activity. Children were setting up displays, practicing performances, and talking excitedly with their families. Amara felt a wave of nervousness wash over her. She had never been in such a big place filled with so many people, and she wasn't sure if she was ready. David noticed her hesitation and gently took her hand. "It's okay to feel nervous," he said. "That means you care. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. Just be yourself, and people will see your heart and your talent." Amara took a deep breath and nodded. With David's support, she found a small table in a corner and carefully displayed her sketchbook. She had drawn the girl in the forest, her adventures, the friends she met, and the courage she discovered along the way. She added little notes explaining each scene, describing the lessons the girl had learned. As people began to walk around, Amara watched nervously. Some children were showing paintings and sculptures, others were performing songs or reciting poems. She felt a little small compared to all the big, impressive creations. But David's words echoed in her mind: "Just be yourself." Soon, a group of children and adults stopped by her table. They looked at her drawings with curiosity and admiration. One of the children, a girl about Amara's age, asked, "Did you make all of this yourself?" Amara nodded shyly. "Yes. It's a story about a girl who learns to be brave and help others." The girl's eyes sparkled. "It's amazing. I love how she never gives up. Can you tell me more?" Amara's nervousness melted away as she began to tell her story. She explained the adventures, the challenges, and the friends the girl met along the way. She talked about courage, kindness, and believing in yourself. As she spoke, more people gathered around, listening intently. David watched quietly from a distance, his heart swelling with pride. A local organizer, an older woman with kind eyes, approached Amara. "Young lady, your story is beautiful. You have a real talent for storytelling and art. Would you like to share it on stage with everyone?" Amara froze for a moment. Share it on stage? That meant speaking in front of a lot of people. Her stomach fluttered with nervousness. But then she remembered David's encouragement and the little girl in her story who never gave up. I I think I can," Amara said softly. The organizer smiled warmly. "That's wonderful. Come with me, and we'll get you ready." Backstage, Amara felt her heart pounding. The stage was bigger than anything she had ever seen. Lights shone down, and she could hear the murmur of the audience. David knelt beside her one last time. "You are ready, Amara. Just be yourself. The world is ready to see your courage." Amara took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. She held her sketchbook tightly in her hands. The audience went quiet, waiting for her to speak. At first, her voice was small, almost a whisper. "Hello," she began. "My name is Amara. I want to tell you a story about a girl who learns to be brave, even when things are hard." As she continued, her voice grew stronger. She spoke about the forest, the challenges, and the friends the girl met. She talked about courage, kindness, and the importance of believing in yourself. The audience listened, captivated by her sincerity and the vivid images she painted with her words. When she finished, there was a moment of silence, followed by enthusiastic applause. Amara felt a rush of pride and happiness. She had faced her fears, shared her story, and touched the hearts of others. After the event, several people came to congratulate her. They praised her creativity, courage, and storytelling skills. Some asked if they could buy prints of her drawings, others encouraged her to keep writing and sharing her stories. Amara's confidence soared. For the first time, she truly believed in herself and her abilities. David hugged her tightly. "I am so proud of you, Amara. Today, you showed the world what I've known all along: you are special, brave, and talented. And this is just the beginning." Amara smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart. She realized that David had given her more than just guidance. He had given her a chance to discover herself, to dream, and to shine. Over the next few weeks, Amara continued to grow. She attended more classes, participated in community events, and even started helping other children at the shelter with their art and stories. She became a source of inspiration and joy for everyone around her. David watched her transformation with pride. He knew that his decision to help her had changed both their lives. Amara had found her voice, her confidence, and her place in the world, while he had found a sense of purpose and fulfillment in guiding her. One evening, as they sat together in the shelter, Amara looked up at David with a thoughtful expression. "David, do you think one day I could be like the little girl in my story, brave, strong, and helping others?" David smiled, his eyes gentle. "Amara, you already are. You faced challenges, believed in yourself, and shared your courage with others. Keep going, and you will inspire many more people, just like the girl in your story." Amara hugged her sketchbook tightly, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and hope. She knew that her journey was just beginning, but she felt ready for whatever came next. She had learned that with courage, determination, and support from people who care, anything was possible. Months later, Amara's story and art were featured in a local magazine. People from all over the city learned about her journey, her talent, and her bravery. The shelter where she lived saw an increase in support and donations, helping more children like her find safety, education, and hope. Amara's life had changed completely, not because of luck, but because of courage, kindness, and the willingness of one person, David, to believe in her. She had learned that asking for help is not a weakness, that creativity and courage can open doors, and that one small voice can make a big difference. As she looked out of her window one evening, sketchbook in hand, she thought about the little girl in her story. She smiled, realizing that she had become that girl. Brave, strong, and ready to face the world. David entered the room quietly, carrying 2 cups of cocoa. He handed one to Amara and sat beside her. "So, what's the next adventure?" he asked with a gentle smile. Amara looked at him, her eyes sparkling. "I don't know yet. But I'm ready, and I know I can do anything." David nodded, feeling a mix of pride and happiness. He knew that whatever the future held, Amara would face it with courage, kindness, and an unstoppable spirit. And as they sat together, enjoying the warm cocoa and the soft evening light, both of them felt that their journey, one of trust, growth, and discovery, had only just begun. Amara's story had started with a simple request, a moment of courage, and the belief that someone would care. But it had grown into a life filled with possibilities, hope, and inspiration for others. And in that quiet, warm room, she knew one thing for certain: no matter what challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them, because she had learned the most important lesson of all: believe in yourself, and the world will believe in you too. And so, the girl who had once asked, "Excuse me, sir, can I go home with you?" had found a new home, not just in a shelter or a city, but in the hearts of everyone who had seen her courage, her talent, and her unwavering spirit. She was no longer a child waiting for a chance. She was a young artist, a storyteller, and a beacon of hope for everyone around her. The future was bright, and Amara was ready to shine.